Good morning, and welcome to today's online service from UUCA. I'm Hugh Wynn, member of the Board of Trustees, and it's great that you're able to join us this morning. As before, unfortunately, we're not able to be together physically, but it's great that we have this online platform to really engage with each other and support each other during this time. The platform does have the chat window as well as the like button, so please take advantage of these opportunities to engage with each other this morning. After service, I invite you to join us for coffee hour. You'll find the link to that in the connections email you received a few days ago. And over the next week, please be on the lookout for communications from the staff for other opportunities to engage with each other through our Zoom platform. So whether it's your first time here or you've been here before virtually, know that you are welcome. We're coming together to really live our values and support each other during this challenging time. Welcome.
Welcome. My name is David McTaggart. It is my honor to welcome you into this green sanctuary and to call our hearts into an hour of shared worship. We speak to the God, the Goddess, the Spirit of life, the eternal. We speak to the mysterious thread that connects us one to the other and to the universe. We speak to the deep wisdom at the center of our beings. We embody the yearning of all people to touch each other more deeply, to hear each other more keenly, to see each other's joys and sorrows as our own, and know that we are not alone. Out of our yearning, we have come to this religious community May we help each other to proclaim the possibilities we see, to create the community we desire, to worship what is worthy in our lives, to teach the truth as we know it, and to serve with justice in all the ways that we can. To the end that our yearning is assuaged and our lives fulfilled in one another. Come, let us worship together in the name of all that is holy. As we enter into this sacred time, I invite you to join me in the Spirit in lighting our chalice. Perhaps you may wish to light a chalice candle at home so that you too might feel the physical warmth of our presence. We gather together as a community of memory and hope to celebrate life and its infinite possibilities for love. We light this chalice as a symbol of the light within every human heart. May our individual sparks meet and merge, bringing both light and warmth to the world.
Good morning, I'm Walter Clark. It's time for our Time for All Ages segment of Sunday worship. So I encourage all of my younger, more energetic friends to gather around as we share a story. This is a story I'm sure some of you are familiar with. It's called Stone Soup. But there's a twist on it this time. A friend of mine by the name of Liz James wrote this wonderful piece showing stone soup from a slightly different perspective. And that's one I think that we can all appreciate. So if you just join me for a second, it's on YouTube. So you just come on over. We can watch it together. I'm not sure those townspeople were being selfish in the stone soup story. You probably remember how it goes. When the old woman came into the village and asked for ingredients to make food, everyone said they had nothing. She began boiling a pot of water with a stone in it, and she said, "Oh, I wish I had a little salt." And someone came forward, shyly, with a tiny bit tucked away in a pocket. Then she wondered out loud if she could find a few root vegetables, and another person had that. Someone else had a few spoonfuls of rice, and so on, until a glorious soup was made. We're taught that this tale is about tricking a meal out of selfish people, but I don't really think that's what happened. I mean, if someone asked me if I had a meal to share with them, and I only had a half teaspoon of salt or a few old vegetables that were always at the back of my fridge, I would say I couldn't help. I wouldn't be lying when I said I had nothing to give. I'd just be wrong. When we say that there's nothing we can do, we're not lying. That phone call we might make, that $5 we might donate, that quick email of encouragement we might send, these things feel so small that we think that they're the same as having nothing to offer. The stone soup story isn't about selfish people. It's about people who thought they were powerless. It's about people learning that they had something to offer that would feed themselves and each other. A lot of times when we think about big things like the coronavirus and what their impact is on the world, we often think, I am just one small person. What can I do? And it feels like your one action doesn't do much of anything. And you are really quick to ask yourself, why bother? why do it at all? And I want you to know I understand that. But those small actions add up. Those little things that you don't think make a difference, they can make a difference. Slowly. The first difference they can make is they make you feel better. You're actually doing something. And it's better to do a small something that seems useless than to do nothing at all. And the second part is those actions, those small acts of charity that we think are useless, are often inspirational to others. They can start a chain reaction that causes something big and beautiful. So what can you do, my small friends and my larger friends who are at home? You can be kind to each other. You can offer to do a chore. You can offer to go for a walk. Go outside with a friend. Make that phone call. Share a smile, even if it is from 6 feet away. This is a time where small acts of kindness can do a world of good. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being here. I want you all to stay safe. I want you all to stay connected to your friends and your loved ones. And most importantly, I want you all to know you are loved. And don't forget to wear your mask. Here.
Thank you, Walter. This is one of those ways in which we take care of ourselves and others by this simple act of putting on a mask. And the other way in which we take care of ourselves and others is by reaffirming this community that we have joined, this community that's so important to us, by talking about what it means to be a part of this community. This is a Sunday in which we would normally be welcoming new members. And there would be 85 new people who would be arrayed up here with me on the chancel. And I can't help but feel your absence physically. But I want you to know how important it is to us that you are still with us in so many different ways. Online, in your relationships to others in the congregation, ways in which you participated in candidating week, ways in which I think you still pay attention to what's happening in this congregation, because it's so important to us now to have a sense of community. In a new member recognition, what we talk about is how you're not just joining this congregation now, at this moment. You're joining a congregation that has been around for a long time. You're joining the congregation that got formed in the 1940s and that built this building and then expanded this building and that served this community in a million different ways. And you're also joining the community that is going to come to be. And you will have a role in making this the community that we want it to be. So in our new member recognition, we talk about how being a member of a UU church seems like it's a simple process. You sign the book and you make a pledge. But really, it's so much more complicated than that. Becoming a member means that you're joining a community of people who have a common quest. A quest for truth, for justice, for love. And building a community of truth, justice, and love is not easy. We need you to help us do that. Truth is something that's not always welcome. Justice is usually slow and painful, and love is the ultimate challenge to every human life. There's no creed that you affirm when you join, but you do join with some expectations that we have of you, some expectations that you will join in this quest. You will bring your unique gifts to help us move forward in this great quest to create love, justice, and truth. So we expect from you and from all of us that we care for one another, that we form bonds of trust, that we attend worship regularly, to speak and act for social justice, to contribute time and financial resources, to welcome new people and tell them why this faith community is important to you. Now, obviously, in the time of COVID, those become a different kind of set of expectations. But nonetheless, you can still show up for worship online. I love seeing everyone on Facebook as we're watching the services together, and I get to connect with you in all kinds of ways. Please introduce yourselves as you sign on to watch the service. There are ways in which we can still show up for justice by contributing to the many causes that this congregation supports, by working as I have done in the food pantry, by contributing to the many organizations that need our help in this time of crisis. And there are so many ways in which you can testify to the power of this community in your life, to the faith that's important to you. I know a lot of people, when they've been watching on Facebook, have done watch parties, and they've invited their friends and their family to come and see why this community is important to you. So we can expand our faith still, even while we're not together in this space. And so when we do a recognition, we ask you, new members, do you accept the challenges of membership and pledge to seek deeper meaning and stronger bonds of fellowship within this community? Do you? And to all the members of the congregation, we say, please join us in these words of welcome. We welcome you, friends, with open hands and hearts. We covenant to support you in your spiritual journey, to walk with you in good times and in bad, to encourage your growing commitment to the principles we share. And as you join us, we once again renew our own commitment to this religious community and its pursuit of love and justice. Our community is richer because you are now here with us. The flame of our chalice grows brighter with your new light. So there is an obligation, friends, for all of us to keep showing up for one another. There's an obligation, friends who have been a part of this community for a long time, to keep showing up, to reach out to new members. We'll have a special coffee hour after this service where you can come and meet virtually the new members and find ways to connect with them. You can join covenant groups. You can make calls. You can do all the kinds of things that we're setting in place to help keep the bonds of this community close, even while we are not physically close. So I invite all of us to keep creating community together. And we know that, as I said before, just as we're joining what has come before, we're also joining what is to come. And so our commitment is to keep this community going, to keep this community growing, to keep finding ways to connect in the larger community and to give of ourselves to others. And so I'm going to pass this to you, Sarah, so that you can talk about all the ways in which we plan to grow in the future.
Thank you, Teresa. I'm Sarah Masters. I'm the Director of Congregational Life, and I'm delighted to be with you this morning to recognize all our new members who have joined in about the last year or so. They are an amazing bunch, and they have become a part of church life in almost every way. I was thrilled to see that one of them has been nominated for the Board of Trustees, and one has been nominated for the nominating committee. And of course, they're involved in all of our social justice activities, our covenant groups, our religious education program, all aspects of church life. And what I want to say to you is that we have room for all of you to be involved in all those aspects of church life. And I especially want to speak to those of you who perhaps have never been in our beautiful sanctuary. In the current times of coronavirus and the shutdown that we've all experienced, we've had to really reimagine church and church life, and we are continuing to do that. And I'm especially thinking of those of you who have found us during this time. And I want you to be involved as much as anyone else can be involved, And so I have set up a new email address for myself. And don't worry, for those of you who already have my email address, all those other email addresses still work. But the email address that those of you who don't know me can use is newcomer@uucava.org. That's newcomer at our website, which is uucava.org. And so I would encourage you to contact me, and I can get you connected to our newsletter, which is called Connections and comes out usually every Thursday. And also, we've just started with newcomer orientations. We had our first one last week, and it went really well. We're going to continue those. We also have covenant groups, which are small group experiences, especially for newcomers, and we will be looking to start some more of those in the summer, or perhaps more towards the fall. But participating in worship is fantastic, but especially when we can't be together, it's really important to find other ways to connect with this community. So for those of you who are already connected but have not yet joined the church formally, I want to let you know that we have found a way to have people sign the membership book without actually coming to the church. So if that is something that you're ready to do, please contact me. You can use that same email address, and we will set up a way for you to also sign the membership book now. So after church today, for those of you who are watching live, at about 11:15 Eastern Time, we'll have a coffee hour, which Reverend Teresa mentioned, especially for the chance to get to know our new members. I've invited them to particularly come, and I hope that those of you who are watching can stay and give them a warm welcome as well. Many of you have been members for a really long time. Some of you have been members for a shorter amount of time, but this would be a good chance for people to get to know each other a little bit more today. So with that, I'm going to turn the mask back to Walter.
I'd like you to join me now in the spirit of meditation and prayer. Get comfortable in your seats. Take a deep breath. Just let it go. If you have a cup of coffee or tea, you're welcome to breathe in from it. Sink deeper into your seats. Get comfortable. And just breathe. Spirit of life and of love. Amidst this time of chaos that has been self-quarantine and social distancing, and this time where it feels like days blend together, may we not forget that this weekend is Memorial Day weekend. And though we may mourn the loss of those opening picnics and barbecues, those trips to the beaches that mark the first days of summer, let us not truly forget what this day is supposed to be about. This Monday, let us remember those who served our country and fell in battle. Let us remember those who gave the ultimate sacrifice to protect us. In a time where it is brought to our attention so quickly now, the importance of those people on the front lines, in a time where we are filled with metaphors of war and of sacrifice, let us remember that that sacrifice has gone back hundreds of years. Let us lift up those that have struggled and gave their lives to give us a better life. May we remember not just to hold their memories, but to carry their vision forward. May we remember to live the life they fought for us to live. Spirit of life, give us the strength to live into the dreams of our foremothers and fathers. Give us the strength to do what we can to make this world a better place. Give us the strength not just to sacrifice when asked, but to live into the best that we can be, that was asked of us. Blessed be, and may it be so. If there is someone who you'd like to remember, someone who is important to you, maybe it is a parent or relative who served and died in the armed forces, I encourage you now, if you're on our Facebook chat, to write in their names if you want, so that we can all see and honor them. If you want, put their rank, put when they served, put what branch of the armed forces they served in. And I also want to encourage you all to remember that we can still lift each other up in our congregation. Often we would light candles and write names in the book of life. And it's a ritual that many of us have missed. I encourage you now, if you want to share who you'd like to lift up in general, while Spirit of Life is playing, to type in the name of someone who you are holding dear, someone suffering from COVID-19, someone who is a frontline worker who you are scared for, a relative that you can't see because of the social distance we have to maintain. If there is someone who weighs heavy on your heart, if you are following us on our Facebook Live chat, I encourage you to type their name in and put in the hashtag BOL, Book of Life. Know that we need each other in these times of community. Know that you are missed and you are loved. Please take a deep breath and let us enjoy Spirit of Life.
Many of us have emotional and spiritual burdens that are too heavy to speak aloud or list publicly during our worship. If you have someone or something that you wish to privately lift up, we invite you to submit their names to our Book of Life private prayer group. Send a brief email to uucabookoflife@gmail.com. Diane Ulias, our commissioned lay minister, will review the entries and arrange for a prayer group to pray for these individuals on the following Friday. The information will not be shared with other members of the congregation or staff. Diane, our commissioned lay minister, may reach out to you to see if you would like any additional pastoral support. You are free to let her know if that support would be appreciated or not in your email. In these times of social distancing, may we remember that we are still able to connect with each other emotionally and spiritually, and that our UUCA community is here for you. Please join me now in silence and reflective prayer. There is a limit to my acquisitiveness. I have more than enough stuff now. I have all the things I could possibly want to make my life more comfortable. I have plenty of belongings, thank you. But love, oh God, there is no limit to my longing for love. Love is so elusive and so precious, and it doesn't follow any rules. I can't make people love me or keep their love once I have it, or invest it in the bond market and draw on the interest. I can't catch love in a bottle and look at it in the afternoon when I'm lonely. I can't get love on demand with a bank card. Knowing that love is not a limited resource, not an endangered species, doesn't help at all. What does it matter if there is a vast ocean of love out there if I am not able to immerse myself in it? If I am up here in my head without a drop of the ocean's moisture to bless me in my heart? Here's what I can do. I can be open to the possibility of love. I can recognize love when it is offered. I can be vulnerable, knowing that those who dare not risk giving are unable to receive. I can admit that being loved is an exercise in letting go, in surrendering control, in being humbly grateful for what is given. I can accept love and let even the smallest amount of it grow in me and shine out of me. I can say at last, the love that you have given me is very good, and it is enough. Thich Nhat Hanh expresses the sacredness of love in this dialogue. Love is to be present, to say to your beloved one, dear one, I am here for you. Love is to recognize the presence of the person you love. Dear one, I know that you are here and it makes me very happy. Love is to be there when your beloved is suffering. Dear one, I know that you are suffering, that's why I'm here for you. Love is to overcome pride when your beloved has hurt you. Dear one, I'm suffering, please help. Love is to remember when your beloved has departed. Dear one, the love that you have given me was very good, and it was enough.
Though days be dark with storms, and burdens weigh my soul, though troubles wait at every turn, I know I can go on. And though the journey is long, the destination is clear. Though troubles wait at every turn, I know I can go on. So brothers, take my hand, and sisters, sing my song. When hope awaits at every turn, I know I can go on.
So it's been 73 days since our family has been in self-isolation and quarantine, and I have had enough. We have been quarantined here in Richmond, only going out for groceries and the occasional Target run when absolutely necessary. We haven't been to a restaurant or a Starbucks in nearly 2 months, or more than 2 months. We haven't been in close proximity with anyone who isn't one of my 3 other family members in that entire time. And Zoom meetings with family and friends just don't count. Over the past 73 days, my children have not been able to have a single sleepover, something which was a weekly occurrence here in my house. The only things that we have had during this time of crisis is each other. And while I am infinitely grateful to be in a situation where I am quarantined with ones I love and I'm in a safe environment. I am not gonna lie, I'm done. And I can tell I'm not the only one who's done. On those few Target runs that I've been on, I've noticed that the more often I go out recently, the fewer people I see with masks on. I went out about 3 weeks ago on a Saturday afternoon to a Target, and about 10% of the people at that Target here in Richmond, 10% were wearing their masks. And I couldn't believe it. I was stunned. I mean, were these people living in the same world I was? Have they heard the reports about how infectious this disease is? What, don't they care? Don't they care at all about their health? And I know for some people availability is an issue, but when you walked into this Target, the first thing you saw, the very first display, is 10 packs of masks on sale for $10. So it's not like availability is an issue to any of these people who were shopping in this Target. What's wrong with them? Why aren't they just wearing a mask? And I think the most simple answer is that people are just tired of it. They're done. When we started this quarantine 2 months ago, if you remember the very beginnings of this, that eternity ago, the reaction that everyone had was swift and serious. We had people banding together to work to stop the spread of the virus, and everybody was on the bandwagon to stay at home, to not go out, to telecommute, to keep the country safe, and to stop this disease from spreading as quickly as possible. We were all so desperate to flatten the curve. If you remember those first few moments, you got to see how serious we were taking this. It seems that we've lost that. I knew back in March this was serious when March Madness was canceled by the NCAA. That's when I knew this was a big deal. And that's when so many of us committed to do our best to stop. But in the 2 months since, all we have seen is cases go up. On the 15th of March, this country had just under 4,000 positive coronavirus cases. We are now over 1.5 million coronavirus cases in this country. And while that curve is getting flatter, it doesn't look like it's going to flatten anytime soon, let alone decrease. We are looking at a future of indeterminate amount of time where cases are going to go up. It's because of this uncertain and dire prediction that the UUA, the Unitarian Universalist Association, sent out an announcement on the 14th of May, last Thursday, recommending that all UU churches go to virtual worship services for the foreseeable year through May of 2021. 2021. It feels like in these times there is no end in sight, and despite all of our efforts of social distancing, all of our mask wearing, that COVID-19 is not going anywhere any time soon. So, in a way, I can understand why some people would just give up and stop wearing the mask. It feels like one small action is not going to make a change. And if my small action isn't going to do anything, I might as well go back to normal. I might as well not wear a mask and live the life that I want to live. The impact of COVID-19 seems immense to our small, tiny responses. So why bother? This reminded me a little bit of a story. It's about a friend of mine, John Coffey, and I. We were in seminary together. The Reverend John Coffey and I. We were in seminary together at Meadville Lombard. And we were taking a class together called Hebrew Scripture. For those of you who might not know, Hebrew Scripture is basically the Old Testament. And the teacher had been talking about Noah's Ark, the story of Noah's Ark, and how it was a metaphor for climate change. They basically were saying that if you look at climate change and the idea that our nation is going to flood due to our evil actions, just like in Noah's story, the world was going to be flooded because man was wicked. And the only way that we're going to survive is by escaping the flood. What's going to happen is all those people who are going to escape the flood in our new case, because of global warming, are going to be basically the same people who caused the flood. The people who can afford to move out of flood zones. The people who don't live on the margins, who have insurance. It's going to be, instead of Noah and his family being saved, that God sparing the righteous on the ark, that the wicked, the people who caused the problem, would be spared. And my friend John, who comes from a Christian theist background, was outraged at this metaphor. He hated the idea of making the parallels with this and couldn't believe the teacher thought that this was such a good metaphor. And he just, after class, was just venting to me about how inappropriate it was. He was mad at the injustice of climate change. He was mad because the immediacy of the situation of climate change had made itself so much more dire to him in that moment. And his very first and very real reaction was to find something to be angry at, and that's that metaphor. And as he was talking, I said to him, John, it sounds like you're not really mad at the metaphor. What you really want in this situation is a bigger boat. This is what happens when we get confronted with something that hurts us or scares us or is unknown. We latch on to that closest thing that is causing us pain. Like my friend John was latching on to that metaphor of Noah's Ark. And instead, where we should be focusing on is the pain that we're feeling and what our actions can do to solve it. Right now, in the situation of COVID-19, so many of us are focusing on the things that are hurting us in these times. We're focusing on the fact that we don't have physical community, that all we want to do is worship and sing next to each other, or visit a neighbor without having to stay 6 feet away. We're angry at the fact that we can't go to the grocery store and pick up flour and yeast without calling ahead to make sure that they're in stock. We're upset
because we have to wear masks and gloves in public when it seems so silly to so many of us. Like my friend John, we're all focused on what we feel is causing us pain. And what we've lost sight of is what's most important. The fact that we need to build that bigger boat. Our values as Unitarian Universalists call for us to make our boat as big as possible. The inherent worth and dignity of all people demands that we make room for everyone, that we care for all souls. And while it might seem small, the idea of wearing this simple mask is a part of building that bigger boat. I'm sure most of you realize what these masks really do. These masks do not do a great job of protecting the wearer from getting the coronavirus. This material is not going to stop a virus from coming in if you were to inhale it. This isn't to protect the wearer. These masks, what they do is they do a good job, not a great or complete job, but they do a good job of trapping any particulates that you may exhale that have the virus. You wear the mask not because it's an action of selfishness to protect you. Wearing this mask is an action to protect others. It's your part of being inclusive. It's part of building the bigger boat. And that's the thing about building a boat. To build a boat requires thousands of small actions. To build a boat requires 1,000 nails being driven into 1,000 pieces of wood. To build a boat requires thousands of strokes of sandpaper and thousands of brush strokes applying pitch to the hull. To say you want to build a boat on its own may seem like an impossible task. The fact to build a boat. But to say just the act of driving in a single nail isn't impossible. It's achievable. So it may seem like there is nothing that we can do to return to normal, to get back to our non-social distance lives. It seems so far away. But the one small action we can do is important in achieving that bigger goal. You've noticed that the mask has been going through our services. I've asked Teresa and Sarah and David McTaggart to pass the mask back and forth. And I'm hoping the illusion worked to some extent. And I thought it was important because I wanted to show how one small action can not only engage all the members of a community to do it together, but that when we create that one small action, when it engages and encompasses so many people, it weaves us in to create something larger. The one small action on its own seems meaningless, but when brought in concert, 1,000 small actions create something so much bigger. I wish I could tell you the exact date of when this will be over. I wish I could say for certain that we will be back in our building in September. I wish I could tell you when we will all go back to school or work, when we can be in the same building, when we can hug our loved ones safely. I wish I could give you that something real to hold on to look forward to. I wish I could give you something to control. Because that is what we need right now. We are so lost and figure we have no control over what is going on. We can't visit who we want. We can't go out to the store. But we need to remember we still have control over our 1,000 small actions. No, you can't visit your friend who you haven't seen in a week, but you can call them and you can send them a letter or a note. You can still connect with them. No, you cannot host your graduation party or your ordination party, but you can still get those people you love together over Zoom and still talk about the good times and still toast your accomplishment. No, you cannot stop COVID-19, but you can make the world a little safer for everyone by just wearing a mask. You can wash your hands 20 seconds for 20 seconds when you get home. You can minimize contact. You have a myriad of actions to choose from. 1,000 ways to do 1,000 positive actions to build the bigger boat. It may seem daunting to build that boat. All you need to do is drive it in one nail at a time. It just takes one small action.
UUCA is recognized throughout Northern Virginia as an activist congregation. We make a difference in people's lives by advocating, organizing, and sharing our space and resources, and by giving of our financial support. As is our custom, we share 70% of our plate offering with partner organizations that are doing good work on our behalf, both within our community and around the world. The money collected for our offering will collectively support our partners' ongoing work to amplify the voices of people in the margins, to bring more justice and peace to our world. Alliances is our own UUCA Justice Ministry dedicated to supporting the work of 2 partner organizations in Guatemala, as well as the needs of our local Buckingham immigrant community located across Route 50 from our church. In Guatemala, our partner NISQUA sponsors accompaniers. Accompaniers are young Americans who, by their presence, protect citizens who are trying to exercise their everyday human rights. Adavima, our second partner in Guatemala, provides scholarships that enable indigenous Mayan students to attend middle school and high school. Alliances organizes periodic delegation trips to Guatemala, offering you an opportunity to see firsthand the good work that we are doing to bring our first and seventh principles to life. Do watch our Connections newsletter for news of Alliances. We have many ways to give to our social justice partners. First, you can always mail or drop off a check payable to UUCA with the word offering in the memo line. Second, you can give online at the church website, uucava.org. Click on the donate button at the top of the page. Finally, you can donate using your mobile app, the mobile app Give Plus. Download the app, enter our zip code 22204, and choose our church, UUCA, and follow the prompt to give now. While worshiping virtually, we miss the tactile immediacy of having a donation plate passed into our hands. Please don't forget. I suggest that you perhaps hold a shoe in your lap to remind you yourself to give online once the service is done. Let us be grateful when we are able to give, for many do not have that privilege. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts with us, for we are enriched by their giving. Let us be grateful even for our needs, so we may learn from the generosity of others. And so we commit this offering, and so we commit ourselves.
Thank you, David. Before we close out our service, I'd like to remind you all and encourage you to join us after service for our coffee hour by our virtual Zoom room. We've had an opportunity today to honor some of our newer members, and this is a great opportunity for us to get to know some of our newcomers and for them to know us as well. So let's close out with a reading. This is a reading by one of my favorite Universalists. It's attributed to one of my favorite Universalists, John Murray. Go out into the highways and byways. Give the people something of your new vision. You may possess but a small light, but uncover it. Let it shine. Use it in order to bring more light and understanding to the hearts and minds of men and women. Give them not hell, but hope and courage. Preach the kindness and everlasting love of God. Be safe. Stay connected. Know you are loved. Blessed be. I should put this on.